we'll move on to the Italy-Wales one first. Italy
Yeah.
v Wales. They made a raft of changes, Wales, this is, and played a stop-starty kind of game. They were impressive in the first half, with the exception of the fact that they just repeatedly kicked threes and didn't convert all of that pressure into the tries they were good enough for, and then as a result only got out of Rome with a 2 tries apiece win, wasn't it? It was 2 tries each, I think. It was very strange to see them kicking those 3-pointers in Rome, which is like sometimes construed as a sign of respect, sometimes looked at as building a score. What it ended up being was like 12-point return for a lot more pressure than that, and Italy scored a try at the end of that half to get them back into the game, sort of, and then had a nervy start to the second half as a result. I don't know.
Certainly, like, it's a very I thought they were all strange calls. Like the idea of, you know, showing respect and building a score. I don't really think that they needed to do that against this Italy team.
Well, yeah, they're going to make 10 changes anyway. It's like, what more respect is there to be showing?
They're possibly just getting the team settled, but certainly taking the one for 12.
From 9 points up to 12 points up, that seems way wrong-headed. And it was Jonathan Davis, wasn't he, who was captain? And obviously, but it must have been
Dan Bigger and him between them.
It seems a strange call, and it's like Dan Bigger, for having been quite impressive in that first half, the wheels kind of came off in the second a little bit before he got replaced, and it's like still no hard and fast like decision on who's in that 10 jersey and what is going to be going
There's
forward.
a load of those issues with Wales in terms of selection. Yeah, you know, you asked me like a few weeks ago.
Because Watkin had a good game from 12.
Yeah,
and is he going to go in there now?
There's a lot of good coming out of them, but there's not a lot of, you know, jersey grabbing great coming out of them, and that's, you know, one of their strengths, certainly, like as you contrast them to Ireland, and I would have pointed that out, is versatility. You know, they can take games to different places, present oppositions with different styles and different shapes. Absolutely. But I wonder if they need some guys to step up and take that extra step towards being like at halfback. There's a lot of wishy-washy play going on from everybody at scrum half and an out half.
Yeah, and Gareth Davies has come off the bench and played poorly in the first 2 outings, hasn't he? He's been very loose in terms of all of his play.
I thought Aled Davis at 9 was pretty unconvincing as well, and then he was getting harried, and his only real play was
trying to milk a penalty for it by going to deck and then slowing their already quick ball,
and then lost it a couple of times by pulling shapes and not getting the decision, and Italy picking up the ball and running with it, and it's just. You needed a bit more hustle about him in those moments. And
more physicality. Like when you look at the way Dupont can play off the bench and that kind of grit that you can get from scrummy, he was not showing any of that shape. And then, conversely, Italy were sort of in the game, I suppose, but they were never going to win it at the same time either. And it was like, to harken back, I'm going to keep it going, the 3-pointer thing, they scored their try, and then before the end of the first half, they had another penalty that could have gone down the corner. It was a tough enough kick that they went for and missed, which automatically makes it the wrong call. But I'm saying the same thing I was saying before. They have to recognise that pretty much their only hope of getting a point out of this game is to score 4 tries. And that is going to be true for every game they play in this tournament. So it needs to be the mantra, and it needs to be like, no, we're not kicking 3, we're going to the corner, we're looking for tries. We may not get the tries all the time. In fact, we probably won't. And that may, like, in usual kind of thought, it's like, oh, we wasted a penalty there by not doing it. But it's like, you show me the game that those 3-pointers have ever made a tangible difference to you in the winning of it or losing of it. I can't cite the example of it, because unless you're playing a team on your level, tier 2, if they're playing Georgia as they were, then yes, the 3-pointers are a useful option to try and build a score, try and like things. But no, when there's that much of a discrepancy in those two teams, go for the tries, because there are bonus points on offer for 4 tries. And if you score 4 tries, that's 20 points at least. That's more than you tend to score in these games, so it's giving you more of a chance anyway by net result of scoring that many.
For sure.
So that was an irritation from their performance. The fact that they did that after scoring a try, that would have just propelled them back in, as well as putting doubt in an already kind of disjointed-ish Wales team that were like, there was looseness to their play that I am willing to put down to just the stop start thing. Things like their maul setup,
their line out in general,
sloppy, their line out in general being sloppy. That tends to happen when you make that kind of raft of changes for any team. But then there were other sides of it that were just like those 3-pointers and things. There were just some questionable calls at times, and certainly a real lack of urgency by the last quarter. They like, despite the fact they were in Italy, they seemed not that pushed about the bonus point through the first half, selecting to do those 12-pointer, those 4 3-pointers. And in the second half, like even towards the end when they got their second try, it was like there was just no urgency out of the boys at all to kick on from there. And it was
potentially tournament costing, potentially
be. Considering
they've got their two easy games out of the way. So now England, as much as Wales and England will both be focused on a Grand Slam, if England get a losing bonus point out of that Wales game, Wales are going into back-to-back weeks. Even on the win, they're going away to Murrayfield and then hosting Ireland.
Two losable fixtures.
If they lose either one of them, you would expect England would win the championship.
Yeah.
So I think it's a mistake, and I also just think confidence-wise it can't be good.
Yeah.
The 10 changes, like, because they're such a versatile team, you would have thought it would be a strength because you'd have competition for jerseys can be great, but it's the curious picture at the moment where nobody seems to be grabbing them. I mean, Elliot D was pretty catastrophic in the absence of Ken Owens.
True.
Adam Beard was kind of all over the place.
He had a very poor game actually. Everything he touched seemed a bit wrong.
Yeah,
the lineup wasn't good.
And then in the back line I thought Watkin did have a few useful touches, but in general it wasn't pushing the button stuff, and more questions will be answered than were answered in this game, in the England game.
And that's kind of make or break for their season. Like all of this may be moot if they do that point on England, but it's
certainly no of all their big squad and of all their big depth and all the rotating that they have done and can do. Like you would expect to see guys in a game like this grabbing jerseys, and you didn't see any of it.
No, it very much felt like
still leaves them with a dilemma.
Getting out of their way.
Patchell's stock is rising in his injury.
That's a strange place to be at. No, and it's true because Bigger showed the good and bad in his game in one game, and it was far too loose from a guy who tends to be domineering in that 10 jersey. By the end, there were some really ropey plays. Anscombe came on, did some creditable things, was nice, good to identify the chip for that try as well. It just felt there were more, but they left a lot behind there against Italy, an Italy team that are still dodgy in their first up tackles, and
the lack of improvement from them has been disappointing, hasn't it?
A little bit. What's one thing that's sort of improved, and this is one thing that leads me to believe that their game in Rome against France is going to be an interesting one, is that they're scoring quite late in the game. Yeah, they're actually look fit enough to put scores in.
They did a bit late last year as well.
Well, this is where we're seeing France be so hopelessly abject in the tail end of games that it's like there's a possibility that this Italy team are fitter than France.
I certainly think, and we'll get on to France, but I certainly think regardless of the context, if there's 20 minutes to go in a game and it's France are involved and it's 16-all, but France are just going to be shot of confidence. Yeah, regardless, the position.
How can they win that game? No, they don't know how.
There's just no way that they're going to win that game. This current French team. It doesn't matter what the teams are, who's playing who, what the context is, whether they were 16-0 down or 16-0 up. If it's 16-all, forget about it. For 20 minutes to go.
It's possible. That's what makes me interested, because there's little signs of growth with Italy. The improvement is one thing, but it's tough to ask of them in a tournament like this when they're up against they're in a shark tank essentially with teams that are and countries that have more of a rugby tradition and have more depth and more just have been of a higher caliber for so long that they're always kind of paddling against the stream, and any minor improvements that they make aren't even noticeable.
Not as visible.
Yeah, they're not visible because they're in losing efforts, which has always been Conor O'Shea's defence, and it's oftentimes comes off as a bit flat, especially after however many losses in a row that they're going through in Six Nations. I think it's 19 Six Nations losses in a row, which is always going to pour fuel on the fire of the arguments of getting Georgia in there and stuff, and it's it feels a bit harsh, but it's something that we don't.
Yeah, certainly. As long as O'Shea, essentially what he's doing. What I just hate about the anti-George angle he takes. Obviously, it's protectionist regarding Italy. Yeah. But if you want to make a good faith argument in case of ring fencing, where are you going to put the fence? Really? Yeah. The fence is not going to be beneath Italy. Let's be honest. It's going to if you want to make a good faith argument for it, the fence goes beneath France.
The fence goes, but you saw how many Welsh fans were over there. People love going
more than Italian fans.
Italian fans.
They need to get out of that stadium.
Yeah,
it's miserable.
That is a little side point. Like the Stadio Flaminio was lovely, had a bit of atmosphere to it. Was a nice looking stadium. The Olympic Stadium, I hate Olympic stadiums anyway. The ones with the running tracks and the crowd are so far away, and
they don't fill it. They could move out of Rome. Yeah, maybe to up north to a rugby country. I'm sure they have a few decent stadiums up there. Like it's just I don't know. Any
well, the best atmosphere I've ever seen at an Italy home game was when they hosted the All Blacks in the San Siro. Yeah, and that was unreal.
Can't do that every week though.
Can't
obviously.
do it. Obviously not. No, the interest isn't there, and that would just be an empty stadium.
Not to mention two clubs play their own football there in soccer. Yeah, but it's like they need to. I think it's a problem. I thought like the atmosphere was utterly flat. The Welsh fans were in there and wanted to sing.
And in good voice.
Not that their team would give them much to sing about.
Reverberating around Rome.
It stopped after the first half because of the rugby.
Yeah. They were literally in fine song and then tapered off, and then there was just grumblings and groans. Yeah. What's all this?
Musical groans.
Yes. Yeah. Because I like hearing Bread of Heaven go around when it's not in our stadium.
No. I don't think Welsh fans will ever truly appreciate how irritating it is to hear them all singing happily when they're beating you. It's a terrible experience.
I just admire the harmonisation of it all and the fact that there's a swell in the ground. It's great.
It is. It's awesome. Yeah. There's no arguing. From Italy's perspective, just a couple more things. I'd like to touch again on the point that I made last week. There's just that I think it was buttressed by the fact that I think a stat came out, TV3 or whatever they're called these days, Virgin Media covering the rugby in Ireland. They had brought up the stat of sort of percentage of or what each play is. I can't remember how exactly they termed the stat.
Oh yeah, as in like what you're going to use the ball to do. So it's like there's a kicking play or passing play. What were the options?
I can't remember. But the key note that came out of it was of
how often teams
most teams would kick the ball on in terms of phase play on about 15 to maybe 20% of their phases, something along those lines.
It wasn't quite that.
I thought it was
like 8 to 12, maybe
something like that. Anyway, but it was pretty high. Yeah, like a lot of.
I think it's increased this year.
Yeah,
it's definitely increased this year. There's a lot more attacking.
A lot of kicking going on. Early phase kicking when they're catching the backfield out. And Italy, it was about I think 3 or 4%.
2%, I think.
2%. There you go.
And they just do not kick the ball.
And that's because they don't they lost Tito Tabaldi obviously in the first week.
He does do a lot of box kicking.
Yeah, and without him, they've had this lad Palazzani in, who's been much of a muchness really.
He's a bit loose, to be honest.
But Alan at 10 is to my mind not a 10, and I'd like it's just becoming more obvious watching him make some good ball in hand plays and run some sharp lines. He's a distributing 12. He looks it and he plays it and he acts it and he doesn't kick the ball. Yeah. And when he is asked to kick even off the tee, it's ropey at times. Yeah. And it seems like an obvious answer to me seems to be to bring Carlo Cana back in. I know he's very much fallen out of favour. He's with Zebra. They're not going that well. He has a decent boot on him. He has a capped international, and I would love to see Alan move to 12 where they have an issue anyway. Yeah. And then get Cana in there at 10 to kick the ball and give them a bit more variety. Get them playing down the opposite end of the field a bit more. And then also have, what could be a very interesting centre partnership in Allen and Campagnaro.
It's true. Yeah. Defensively suspect as well, but no more so than what the Scots are putting out there these days.
No more so than what they're putting out every
True
week
enough as well. Like, so it's there's definitely potential in that. Tommy Allen is running the ball very well.
He is. I wouldn't take him out of
the team at all. No, I'd keep him in there. But you're probably right in saying they need to be utilising that kicking game more than they are, because as admirable as it is that they're trying to run the ball a bit more, and how refreshing it is that, like, talking of improvement, if you zoom that out from a 10-year point of view, like, no comparison, they have improved. Like Italy from 10 years ago, they couldn't move the ball at all. They couldn't get, not only from one side of the pitch to the other, they couldn't put two passes together without some kind of mistake or mess in there, and it's like that no longer is the case. So there's obvious signs of improvement there. You have players like Campagnaro who look great ball in hand, that like seem to understand how to run with a rugby ball. That's obviously positive. They have that like it's
imported South Africans like Bram Steyn making awesome plays.
His game actually, he was a shout out. He had the best game I've seen him have in Italian jersey. He was all over. He was also man of the match. He should have been.
Yeah,
like
that's a strange
in a weird performance where there was nothing really doing from a Welsh point of view, and yet that was where it's just
went to Josh Navidi
because he was on the winning side. But it was like, if you're talking back rows specifically, Bram Steyn put in a monster shift where he was nicking lineouts and nicking balls and making tackles. And
exactly, if the man of the match is worth anything, you know, you got to give it to the guy who's making plays out there.
Yeah, and it often happens actually that a number 7 from a losing side can have a great game. I think it happens. It happens an awful lot. I've seen it in many different kinds of teams that like a whole rake of them can be playing badly, and yet their 7 seems to be showing a bit of hustle, but it's all in vain.
Yeah,
it's like it's all just one way traffic anyway. But he's trying. Oh, he's always trying.
Yeah.
But he definitely had a monster game. I was actually going to talk about the fullback that they're missing in terms of just that extra bit of spark in the back line as well.
What's his name? I can't remember his name.
Minosy.
That's it. Matteo
Minosy. And as creditable a job as Hayward did last week, he had a few suspect plays this week, for sure. It wasn't quite his week. That tackle needed to be made on Liam. I know Liam Williams is all elbows and knees, and he looks like a painful guy to try and tackle, but you still have to try to tackle him.
Channeling his Aussie roots there. Yeah. I've liked him as a player as well, but and that's what you talk about, the first of tackles. That's got to be something that's emphasised in training. That's got to be something that it galvanises them the way that defensive tack against England did. First of all, I think they should be defending with a lot more, you know, gusto.
Yeah, their line speed is sometimes very passive. And just allows teams to execute plays that are far too intricate to be working. Really, like a lot of the time, you can fool yourself with an ill-timed Italy game into just these kind of passive, deep, over elaborate moves that seem to work because they're allowed to, and then you come up against a defense that's actually bullish and there to take you out of it, and it comes unstuck very quickly. And like with them, their line is sometimes a bit passive, but it very often doesn't get to the point where their defensive system is tested because they've already just missed a tackle. Like, it wasn't that he wasn't there, he just missed the tackle and now it's a try. So it's like, what are you going to emphasize? It's not going to be more systems oriented stuff. You just need to be making your tackles. 1 to 15, 1 to 23,
but also just putting guys in better position. Like if guys are missing tackles on the back foot so often, playing drifting off people, you got to get the defense on the front foot. And I know in the case of Hayward, that was obviously a case where he was the fullback and he was trying to cover a 2-on-1, so he's always going to be moving backwards.
True.
But you know, in general, the missed tackles that are coming from them, you'd like to see them being given a bit more license to push up out of the line.
Sure.
But that said, teams give them no respect, so they just move it straight wide against them. So it's a difficult one. And certainly those missed tackles aren't going to generate any respect from opposition.
No, they aren't.
The game for them is the French game. That's when things get interesting.
It's like, it's one, as I said, there's a possibility that they're fitter than them, because certainly both of their teams are playing in the Pro 14, and that is certainly a pacier game, or a pacier league than the top tours is currently, as we were highlighting last week. And it's looking at their fitness levels in the tail end of Six Nations games now, for the last couple of years even, they still seem to be there to play a bit of ball. They score a few tries in those late exchanges. I just wish, and I've highlighted at the beginning end, they need to be recognising that in the first half they need to be trying to get 1 try at least, hopefully 2 if they can at all, even if it means leaking 3 or 4, get 2 and then rely on that at the end to try and grab your 2 tries at the end, and then you're getting points out of these games, and that would be enough of a tangible improvement to point towards progress. Like, they registered 1 point in the Six Nations last year. They have to be hoping to outdo that, and maybe a win against France would do that all off the bat, and it wouldn't matter. But it's
the same. Like, I would say the same thing for Japan this year ahead of the Ireland game. I think they play Ireland ahead of playing Scotland, and Scotland's going to be their big game to get out. But if by some fluke of luck, you know, bonus points are to matter. You know, that game against Ireland, and I'm pretty sure Japan probably will approach it in that way.
It plays into their style of play a lot.
But
as well.
you wouldn't want to see them going 3-0 up against Ireland. Like, you would want to see them thinking, like our first priority is we need to get something out of this match. Let's try 4 tries. Because Ireland are a big bullying, bruising monster of a team, and we're not used to seeing anything like them. Let's just try and run, see if we can score some tries and get them on the board. Every time we concede a try, forget about it. Next play, we're still trying to score tries.
It feels like the sensible approach for any underdog, in a
like
tournament
a large
when
underdog,
bonus points matter. It feels like your most likely chance for any success out of the game at all.
It's also your most likely chance to rattle them.
Yeah. And therefore, like, you're more likely to nick a result if you're and obviously every team's going to go into a game hoping as well as kind of thinking that they can win it, because it's a rugby game. It's 15 men against 15 men. On the day they can. And like Japan have evidence like the South Africa game in history to cite as far as that's concerned. So you go in with that in mind. But what's your most likely way to get anything out of the game is through tries, and you're also more likely to put yourself in a winning position once you've scored those 4 tries.
Exactly.
Like that's enough points accrued to be challenging for most games.
And certainly, like, if you're you want to be thinking, if you're Ireland, like if you're this is the way to flip it. Like, if you're even, we'll say, who are Italy playing this week? Ireland are playing Italy in the week to come. If Ireland early doors are looking a bit ropey and start conceding yards, and Italy get a penalty and they take 3 points, they're 3-0 down, Ireland are still not that settled, Italy break out again, get another penalty, take another 3 points. Ireland still aren't wounded. You know, they're 6-0 down, they've started pretty poorly. Then they all of a sudden, you know, they get a penalty, they kick down, they get settled into the game, they get another penalty, they kick it in the corner, and then they take the lead. In spite of being, you know, at sea for 10 minutes. You got to punish, especially when you're a lesser team. If you see a
little ray of hope, a weakness in
you
this
behemoth, press on the throat. And certainly Italy need to be more appreciative of that.
Yeah, for sure. And then in the context of the World Cup, you're right in saying you'd hope more tier 2 sides would take on that mantra as well. Approach, it's certainly something that I'm really fully converted to the idea that it's the only hope, it's the only way, because I've seen 3 points, 6 points, 9 points become nothing but a cricket score the other way. Like, it's not a recipe for success. Whereas if it's 7, 14, 21 and it still becomes nothing, a cricket score the other way, there's always that last phase play that can grab you a 4th try and a point. Indeed, you know? So it just seems to make good mathematical sense, as well as being the right thing for the goodness of the game as well, because I'd love to see tier 2 teams throw more caution to the wind as well. Like, a tier 2 team coming with a negative, spoiling, slowing tactic, as well as never working, it makes just uglier games. Thank you very much for watching. If you're new here, please hit like and subscribe down below if you want to see more videos and all that kind of lovely stuff, but also please leave some comments down below, because we enjoy the chat.